Hey there. You know, despite all of the expert advice I was dispensing on my last video titled Singing During Winter Months, I feel like crap today. My head is throbbing, my sinuses are clogged, my nose won't stop running, my throat is sore. Now that doesn't make me a hypocrite, it's inevitable. And I tell you what, it's been about 2 years or so since I've caught a cold. But I got one now and I feel like crap. So I figured, what better time to post a video about singing with a cold? Now there's a few things I want to discuss first before we get into some exercises. And the most important one to me, the reason why I don't catch many colds, is that in my performing days, this is going back years, I used to catch, I would say 3 or 4 colds a season. And that would start routinely at September. The allergies would kick in and I would get a raging cold, and each one would last easily a month. Now I did not have the healthiest of lifestyles back then, but the point is I feared getting a cold so much that I am sure there's a psychological component to that. I'm sure I brought them on. Every September, every end of August, I would always start worrying, like, uh-oh, here comes September, I know I'm going to get a cold, and sure enough I did. And then right around the holiday season I would get one. And then right around January, February. So I only had like a few good weeks during a 6-month stretch of the year. And I was dealing with that stuff throughout gigging about 4 to 5 nights a week. Now I played over 3,000 gigs in my performing days. And I only canceled probably about 1 or 2. And one of those was due to an infection I had in my foot. So I couldn't move on it. And the other was a bladder infection. So I never really canceled because of a cold. And that was only because I had bills to pay, because my landlord was not very understanding. And so it brings me to a very important topic here, and that is whether or not you should cancel when you have a cold. Now, if you have a raging cold and you go to the doctor and he looks down your throat and he says, oh my God, that looks angry down there, you're very swollen, absolutely no singing. You should heed a doctor's advice at all times. I never went to a doctor because I couldn't afford one. But the point I want to make with you is that there's a big difference between singing and vocalizing. And I did not know that difference when I was younger and performing. When we sing, we are communicating. There's an aesthetic, there's a demand, a bar we have to rise to. You have to sing well enough to be worth the price of admission. And we'll do just about anything to create that. So that's going to be torture on a throat that's already swollen and infected. So it's not a good idea unless you've got some skills deep into your reflexes that if you're going to perform as a singer. The way I look at it is like this. When you're healthy, you've got a very wide window of forgiveness. You can get away with some pretty bad behavior and still sound okay and live to sing the next night. But when you have a cold, that window really shrinks. It reduces, so only the best behavior is going to allow you to finish the set, finish the show. So it is with a great yellow light, a big warning light, that I want you to proceed with this video. What we're going to do is vocalize. Now again, when a doctor says don't sing, that's advice you should heed. What he doesn't say is vocalizing is very therapeutic to the swollen areas around your larynx. Vibration is healthy, activity is healthy, circulation is healthy. So there's a lot of things we can do to help extend the shelf life, if you will, and to widen that window of forgiveness. So you'll get a little bit of a reprieve, if you will. So let's start with that now. The typical things, I should just say, I am not kidding. I feel like crap. The things like teas and honeys and all those things that you hear about, those sort of remedies, if you will, and they're really not remedies, they're just soothing agents. I don't have a problem with any of them, and I don't really use any of them. So the point to remember here is that as bad as I feel and as sore as my throat is right now, I don't have laryngitis. What I have is pharyngitis. The larynx is down here, your pharynx is the throat just up above it. This is where the infection usually resides because we get some drainage coming down from the nasal area. Infection starts up in here, it's a respiratory infection, So then it drips down, and as it seeps down into this area, the walls of my throat above the larynx become swollen. Now this is what makes it feel like my voice is in bad shape, but it's really swelling, and swelling can be reversed, but it has to be a very gentle procedure. Let me give you an example here of what I sound like. If I take this note, this is an F here, normally easy for me to sing. Excuse me. So obviously I don't want to take that onto a stage. If I try it here on the G, so if I just go about my business like nothing is wrong, I'm going to have about 10 minutes and my voice is going to swell up so bad it's going to shut me down for the night. So here's the deal. What you want to do is come in through the back door here and go very, very low volume. I would suggest finding the highest note you can do without force at the lowest volume possible. I want to take a guess for me, see if this A works. And we're going to use an E vowel. Now you may not have a note that high. If you're a guy or if you're a female, probably here around the E or so, or the F would be a good place to check. You want to get up into head register, you want to thin down and back off. Now I got many years of experience with me, so I can't subtract that from my experience. So if you're a beginner, just find the highest note that does work easily, and that's the key. So let me bring it down. Let's say it's this A. And I'm letting it be all noisy like that, but my real focus is to make sure I'm not going to trigger a cough. If I can stay underneath that trigger, so if I don't make myself cough, the more minutes I can collect without coughing, the more I am reversing the swelling, the more I am soothing my voice, that window is going to gradually open up for me. It may take hours. I can't stress that enough. It's time that you really need to vocalize. And I'm not going to sit here for 8 hours, but I'm certainly going to, over the next 8 hours, monitor my voice very closely by sort of vocalizing for 10, 15 minutes and then walk away from it. And then come back half hour later, another 10 minutes, another 15 minutes. I'm going to slowly keep asking for more and more voice to be available, but it's an all-day affair. So if I take down here, just singing a simple scale on an E vowel, but we're going to bring it down from the highest note you can easily access from there, and we're going to go through the passaggio. That's where the voice changes. Generally, when you're swollen, it's that middle of the voice. You're going to have these incredible lows because your folds are swollen. And because they're swollen, it's actually, ironically, easy to access up into falsetto or head register. So you want to use that because it indicates where your folds are thin. I have the urge to cough right now. I'm sitting on it. Just let it sound like that. It doesn't hurt your voice to go there.